Here's why I believe that all of the supposed evidence implicating Jussie Smollett in planning, staging, faking a hate crime, the attack against him, is either fake, made up, or distorted, or does not exist, or is just something claimed by the police that we're expected to take at bare face value without questioning. So aside from the fact that the Osundara brothers cannot be presumed to be able to confess on behalf of somebody else, everyone's saying, oh, the Osundara brothers confessed to their part in staging the attack. That means Jussie Smollett is guilty. You can't confess on behalf of somebody else. The Osundara brothers passed the buck and blamed Smollett. They didn't produce any evidence that Smollett put them up to it. They just said really insistently that he did. There's never any evidence that came out that he put them up to it. And I'll get to the claimed evidence about it. So the police pretended that the fact that the sandwich didn't fall apart when it fell 3 feet out of Jussie Smollett's hands meant that the fight never happened in the first place. There's no forensic evidence saying that sandwiches always fall apart when they fall out of someone's hand from 3 feet above at 20 degree below weather and blah, blah, blah. You could ask as many questions as the whole, the bleach freezing thing, which you can explain. The bleach could have been stored indoors. That's why it didn't freeze by the time that they poured it onto Smollett. It's totally possible that bleach could have been poured onto Smollett. So all the claims that Smollett was inconsistent about his claims or that he made up facts is bullshit. They try to say one of his inconsistent claims was the race of the attacker. He never made any attempt to identify the race of his attacker in the first police report the night it happened. He only tried to guess the race after everyone was really concerned about what's the race of the attacker, what's the race of the attacker. Well, he didn't fucking know because they were covered in all black, or almost all black. Third, the police claimed that a text revealed the planning stages of the attack, sent from Smollett to the Osundara brothers. But the text they showed it said, I know you are 1,000% innocent. And it was sent weeks after the attack, after the Osundara brothers became suspects in the attack. That is not planning stages, that's after the attack. A text proving that their planning happened would be from before the attack. That's how we know that piece of evidence is bullshit. And is not evidence. It's not real evidence. The text from Smollett saying hit me did not literally mean hit me. It's urban slang meaning hit me up, meaning get in touch with me. The lawyers tried to pretend that hit me up means beat me up. He said hit me, short for hit me up. If you read the text, you can see the context of it and understand that it meant get in touch with me. I wanted to read a comment that I got on my last video about Jussie Smollett. The fact that Smollett was casually getting a Subway sandwich at midnight in 20 degrees below zero weather just doesn't add up. It is obviously a lie. Well, what if I think that 2 + 2 doesn't add up to 4? What if you're like 2 + 2 = 4 and I'm like, it doesn't add up? It's obviously a lie. The fact that I'm unable to understand it doesn't make it impossible. If you don't understand why Jussie Smollett would go get a sandwich at Subway at 2 a.m. at 20 degrees below weather, maybe you haven't thought about it enough. The fact that you haven't thought about it, the fact that it doesn't make sense to you in your opinion, doesn't mean it's impossible. There's a difference between impossible and you not understanding it. Like if I were to say that 999 plus 2024 equals 3033, and you would say, well, that seems a little high, doesn't add up. It's like your opinion about this doesn't matter. If you look at the facts, it's not impossible for someone to go to Subway at 2 a.m. when it's 20 degrees below zero. That kind of temperature happens in Chicago all the time. And as I have explained, he was probably high at the time. He was an admitted drug user. He was possibly buying Molly or ecstasy from one of the Osundara brothers, and he told reporters that he had no food in his house because he had just come back from an airplane trip, probably from LA. And he said he had no food in his house. He went to see if the Walgreens was open. It wasn't. And these were all within 2 or 3 blocks of each other. Smollett's apartment, the scene of the fight, the Walgreens, and the Subway. And the hotel that recorded 2 men running past a security guard. The video in which 10 seconds of footage are mysteriously deleted. So this commenter also said that the police talked to the supposed assaulters, I guess he's referring to the Osundara brothers, and they declined a public statement, but gave a statement under the condition that it wouldn't be public. And he says that's pretty good evidence that they have something to hide. I agree. But then he goes on to say, but their crimes weren't serious enough to prosecute. And I say, I don't think it means that at all. I didn't really go into detail on my comment back, but I think it's evidence that the police don't want to admit that the Osundara brothers came up with the idea to attack Jussie Smollett by themselves without being paid by Smollett to do it, because they wanted to threaten him and make it seem like there was a threat, which wasn't real, but was real to the extent that they are willing to beat him up. So they manufactured that threat by making a racist letter and using magazine cutout letters, which were later, there were magazines found at the brothers' apartment by the police. There's a list of stuff the police found in their apartment, and it included magazines and bleach and some of the stuff they bought at the Crafty Beaver hardware store, things that were used in the attack. So there's all this evidence, and people construe it to say, oh, they found the magazines in the brothers' apartment. That means that Jussie Smollett must have put him up to it. No, it doesn't. You can't conclude that. Doesn't mean it's not true. It might be true, but an easier thing to conclude, a more likely thing to conclude is, okay, if the magazines were found at the brothers' apartment, then they almost definitely sent the letter. So it's like, well, they definitely sent the letter. They probably attacked Jussie Smollett. Like I said, CBS Chicago reported that the jury believed that Smollett was attacked. They believe the fight did happen. So if the fight did happen and the brothers sent the letter, that means that they started this. But everyone wants to pretend that Jussie Smollett put them up to it. There's no proof of that. There's no proof that any ride-along happened. And in any communications between Smollett and Osundaros, there's nothing indicating planning of an attack. There's only Smollett saying that they aren't guilty and saying, hit me, as in hit me up, not beat me up, but hit me up, get in touch with me after your plane arrives. He texted that to the Osundara brothers. He did not mean hit me. Hit me was short for hit me up. It's slang meaning get in touch with me. There's no evidence of a ride-along. There's no evidence of planning. And the fact that the sandwich didn't burst into flame on impact when it hit the ground and fell out of Jussie Smollett's hands when he was beaten, that's not proof of anything. That's not proof that the attack didn't happen. That's not proof that Smollett put them up to it. Everyone is ignoring the physical evidence, and they aren't comparing and contrasting people's statements to each other. They're just saying, oh, well, Smollett's obviously guilty, and whatever facts don't line up with that, we can disregard. There was a comment on one of my videos, I'm not able to find it at the moment, but someone asked, so what, you think that some people just randomly approached Jussie Smollett on the street, somehow knew he was gay, and yelled the F-word slur for gay people at him? And another thing I've been asked a few times is, how could someone know that Jussie Smollett was at that place at that time? And I just answer, they knew him. Like, I'm saying the Osundara brothers are the most likely culprit to have attacked him. And they, like, we all know that they knew him. They worked together on Empire. They were his physical trainers. And whether it's true or not that the police say there was a ride-along, these guys were in contact with Jussie Smollett enough so that it would be fair to conclude they knew his address. It would have been very easy for them to stalk him and wait for a time that he'd be alone leaving his apartment. I'm not saying they knew exactly where he was, but maybe, according to Smollett and everyone who's been interviewed, they remained friends until even after the attack happened, because, he didn't start to suspect that it could have been them who attacked him until way after the attack happened, like maybe during the Good Morning America interview, when they showed that footage of two guys walking, and he said those were definitely the men. And then the interviewer says, well, we found out those guys were the Osundara brothers. It could have been them. Like I said, the Walgreens, the Subway, and there's a Subway restaurant. There's also an entrance to a Chicago Subway underground, the transportation system, and Smollett's apartment, and the scene of the attack. Those were all within 3 or 4 blocks of each other tops. and also the building, the hotel that caught people by a security guard, where the 10 seconds of footage were deleted. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment or two about that security footage. But the answer is no. I don't believe that random people somehow knew where Jussie Smollett was going to be and knew that he was gay, or people who hadn't watched Empire. I'm getting asked, like, you think it was people who didn't even know Empire and just knew it was Jussie Smollett on the street? It's like, did I say that? It's like, no, I did. No, I don't believe the thing that you just made up off the top of your head. No, the thing that you're guessing about what I believe that I've never said before. No, that's not what I believe. Thank you for asking. I don't know how you could watch my videos and conclude that I think random people attacked Jussie Smollett on the street. I don't know how you can conclude that I think that Jussie Smollett's attackers did not know him. If you know anything about this case and you know anything about what I've said, I think the Osundaira brothers planned the attack without being paid by Jussie Smollett. I think they beat him up to try to get more money because their physical training services for him could be used by him to make himself more capable of defending himself against potential attackers. They knew that, and then they sent him a threatening letter with a picture of him dying in a noose. And coincidentally, 10 days later, he's got a noose around his neck. There's no proof that he put it there himself. I think he kept it there because if he had removed it, the police could have charged him with tampering with the evidence. You never know what the police can get you on, even if you're the person reporting the crime. So although I may have suggested it's possible a few times that total strangers were the ones who beat up Jussie Smollett, or that it was maybe white people, most of the time I've suggested it was probably the Osundaira brothers. So anyone who knows this case at all knows the Osundaira brothers had a previously existing relationship with Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett had a homosexual relationship with one of them. I think it was the same one as the one who played an extra on Empire. Jussie Smollett got him in the role in the show, I guess. So they knew each other, and it's possible that he was even buying Molly or ecstasy from one of them. So they had a previously existing relationship. I'm not saying that I'm sure that strangers beat Jussie Smollett up. I think it's much more likely that the Osundaira brothers beat him up. But if it's true that with this one TikToker, who I'll show you in a minute, if it's true that that person's correct, that Smollett's attackers were white, then I'll change my position on that, if that can be proven. So there's this TikToker who says there's footage of two people going past a hotel. Those people might have been white. It's impossible to tell because there's 10 seconds of footage that are deleted. Even though those two people were filmed and they might be white, we still don't know. It still might not be the same two people who attacked Jussie Smollett. But it was about 2 or 3 blocks away from the scene of the crime, and Smollett's apartment, and the subway, and Walgreens. So it might be totally unrelated, might be related. There were 2 people filmed following what appears to be Jussie Smollett near, I think, an overpass or a bridge or an underground subway tunnel entrance of some kind. This is from Jussie Smollett case on Instagram. This is posts from a few weeks ago, I think early April 2022. Chicago Police Department said they didn't find any suspects matching the description Jussie gave them, but they obviously lied. They found many videos within 3 days of the attack, and then they have a description of the videos, and you'll see the videos to the left. So by the way, just to remind you, the description Jussie Smollett gave to the police the night he was attacked, the description of his attackers didn't include an attempt to guess their race. That came later. So in this video, which you really can't see what's going on clearly, it says the men coming up behind Jussie right before the attack, but the video suddenly turns off. Yes, that's the men following him, according to that caption. 2, the men running by a guard outside the Sheraton Hotel. I've been mistakenly saying this happened at the Bank of America, but it's Sheraton Hotel. There's a security guard inside, and he, for some reason, goes to the door. There's 10 seconds missing. See how it goes from 38, 39, 40, 50, right as there's 2 guys walking past. Very interesting. Why does footage get deleted in things like this? and the Las Vegas shooting, the biggest mass shooting in American history. Why did footage of the Pentagon getting hit by a plane or whatever, or a rocket, why did that get? Oh, because authorities confiscated the footage from the gas station across the street. So this happens all the time. It's not a coincidence, and it's not okay that it happens all the time. But there's 10 seconds of footage that's deleted that might show an altercation between Smollett's attackers or somebody else and a security guard. Even if it wasn't Smollett's attackers, even if he did put them up to it, we need to find out what happened, whether there's another crime that was committed nearby in that neighborhood that night. Maybe whoever committed that crime was the same person, same as the two people who attacked Jussie Smollett. We don't know. We need to get to the bottom of it. And Chicago police, I believe they deleted that footage in order to either avoid having to do their jobs or cover up what happened or both. So there's more videos. Video of the suspects getting into a taxi outside the Hyatt Hotel. These men are obviously not the Osendayer brothers. The second man is the one both Jussie and the guard said is white, 6 feet tall, and masked. Can't really clearly tell what's going on, but the caption on the previous video said, the video has 10 seconds missing. Guard told CPD the first man who ran by him was white, 6 feet tall, wearing a black face mask. That's what these people are saying. Some of the latest news in the Jussie Smollett case is that on April 1st, 2022, Fox News reported that Jussie Smollett's brother says Chicago Police Department is feeding people fictitious stories and that their entire survival rides on feeding people those fictitious stories that they desperately need you to buy, according to Smollett's brother. And also, Jussie Smollett releases a song after being released from jail saying, you got the wrong one. I guess that's part of the lyrics. Some people searching for fame, some people chasing that clout. Just remember this. This ain't that situation. You think I'm stupid enough to kill my reputation just simply to look like a victim, like it's something fun? Y'all better look at something else. You got the wrong one. That's the lyrics of Jussie Smollett's new single.